Now let's look at the reporting requirement under Form 15CA. Form 15CA is basically divided into 4 parts. Part A is required when the payment is 5 lakh. Part B is required when the payment is more than 5 lakh and a withholding tax certificate is obtained from the assessing officer. Part C is for payments greater than 5 lakh but where this withholding tax certificate is not available. And Part D is applicable where the payment is not taxable. Now let's look at some specifics. But before that, what is the key crux? For the applicability of Part A, B or C, remittance should be chargeable to tax under the Income Tax Act. For this and this, chargeability has to be there. If it is not taxable, then only Part D is required to be filed. So let's look at first Part A of Form 15CA. When to fill it? First is when remittance is chargeable to tax. The remittance to be made to the non-resident should be chargeable to tax under the Income Tax Act. Where the remittance is not chargeable to tax, Part D of Form 15CA should be filed. So first condition is income should be chargeable under the Income Tax Act and the remittance or the aggregate remittance does not exceed rupees 5 lakh. What this means is that if suppose there is one payment, so let's say A has to pay interest to B which is 1.25 lakh per quarter, and second is he has to make payment to B, C, let's say, which is 2 lakh per quarter. Now 1.25 lakh per quarter would mean 5 lakh per year. This means that the payment does not exceed 5 lakh, right? In that case, Part A can be opted for. But if the payment is 2 lakh per quarter, that means the annual payment is 8 lakh, which is more than 5 lakh. In that case, Part A cannot be filled in. Then you need to go to Part B or C depending on what conditions you satisfy. When single payment does not exceed 5 lakh, which is the case in both these payments here, this is 2, this is 1.25, and the aggregate payment to be made during the financial year would not exceed rupees 5 lakh. In this case it did not exceed 5 lakh, in this case it did. So here you can opt for Part A. Or where the aggregate payment to be made during the financial year does not exceed 5 lakh. In these cases you can fill in Part A of Form 15CA. The deductors who are liable to file Part A of Form 15CA are not required to file Form 15CB. Now this is quite important. If you have to fill this part, you do not need 15CB, which is a certificate from Chartered Accountant necessarily. Second, Part B. When is it required to be filled? The first is the same, when the remittance is chargeable to tax. If it is not chargeable, you need to fill only Part D of 15CA. And the remittance or the aggregate remittance exceeds rupees 5 lakh. Right? So condition 1, remittance is chargeable to tax. Condition 2, the single remittance, the single payment exceeds 5 lakh, the remittance or the aggregate remittance, which means where there are more than one payment, they exceed collectively rupees 5 lakh. And third condition is, and please note the conditions are cumulative. When certificate for nil withholding tax or lower withholding tax has been obtained, right? So these certificate can be obtained by the payer under section 195(2), by the payee under 195(3), again by the payee under 197. If either of these three certificates are obtained and the payment exceeds 5 lakh and it is chargeable to tax, If it is not exceeding 5 lakh, it is less than 5 lakh, then part A needs to be done. If it exceeds 5 lakh plus a lower withholding tax is obtained, then part B needs to be filled in. Again, the deductors who are liable to file part B of Form 15CA are also not required to file Form 15CB. Third, part C. So when is part C required to be filled in? When the remittance is chargeable to tax, right? And the second is the remittance or the aggregate remittance exceeds 5 lakh. So this explanation is the same as we did in the previous slide. Now what is missing here is that we have not obtained any lower withholding tax certificate. If I would have obtained a lower withholding tax certificate, I would have gone to part B. Where I haven't obtained it, I will go for part C. Deductors who are liable to file part C of Form 15CA are required to file Form 15CB. In the earlier part, because you had the lower withholding tax certificate, there was no need to obtain a chartered accountant certificate. In this case, you are required to file Form 15CB prior to filing part C of Form 15CA. And the last one is part D. When remittance to non-resident are not chargeable to tax under the Income Tax Act. If within the Act you have an exemption, so let's say for example, not now but until last year, the long-term equity share capital gain of listed securities where STT was paid were exempt from tax under Section 10, subsection 38. If there was a clear-cut exemption that this amount is not chargeable to tax, then you just need to fill in part D. So how do you fill Form 15CA Part A? After filing Form 15CB by Chartered Accountant, wherever applicable, so let's say in case of Part C and Part D, the next step would be to file Form 15CA. First of all, we need to select the relevant part of the Form 15CA which needs to be filed. So when you open, there will be instructions, there will be Form 15CA, right? And you need to select which part do you want to file in. Depending on your profile and the criteria we discussed in the preceding slides, you may choose Part A, B, C or D, whichever is applicable to you. Part A would be selected when the amount of remittance is chargeable to tax and it does not exceed 5 lakh. However, in such a case, there is no need to obtain Form 15CB certification. So let's first look at Part A. Deductors filing Part A of Form 15CA are not required to obtain CA certificate in Form 15CB. This we have already discussed a couple of times. In this column, the one that we are looking at, the basic details of the payer should be entered, like its name, PAN, TAN, address and residential status. So name of the remitter, PAN if available, TAN, the address, all these are criteria which we had discussed earlier. Now here comes the email address. You need to give the email address of the remitter, the person who's making over the money, the phone number, the residential status, whether he's a non-resident or a non-resident, right? Status would actually just mean whether it's a company or whatever, and the residential status of the remitter would need to be indicated here. Now, as I told you earlier, the liability to deduct tax under Section 195 is both with a resident who's making payment to a non-resident as well as a non-resident who might be making payment to another non-resident. So the nature of the remitter, whether he's a non-resident or a resident, has to be mentioned here. Remittee or the recipient. In this column, basic details of non-resident payee should be entered like the name, PAN of the recipient, address. All these columns deal with address. The email address, the phone number, the country to which the remittance is made. Right? You can just select that from the drop down menu here. Amount payable before TDS in Indian currency. Right. This amount can be taken from Form 15CB filed by the Chartered Accountant. So you need to mention what is the amount of Indian rupees that has to be payable before application of TDS. Right. So suppose if rupees 100 is the invoice amount, 10 is the TDS, 90 is the payment, you will mention 100 here. But if the 100 invoice amount has to be grossed up in such a manner that the grossed up amount is 111, TDS is 11, and the net payable is 100, then 111 is what needs to be mentioned here. Aggregate amount of remittance made during the financial year, including the proposed remittance. The purpose of this is to see that the total remittances criteria that we discussed earlier of 5 lakh are not breached. Where the aggregate remittance made during the financial year exceeds 5 lakh, Part A of Form 15CA cannot be filed. In such case, Part C of Form 15CA should be filed. Right? The name of the bank through which the remittance is made. Suppose if you are making the payment through HDFC, you mention HDFC here. The branch of the bank, it could be Surya Kiran, it could be Badshahpur, whatever that branch might be there. The proposed date of remittance. Like I said, there might be an advice which I have been sent by the payer to its bank. That advice has to be looked at to see the proposed date of remittance. The nature of remittance, whatever that might be, has to be put in